What's up, Shredheads, and welcome back to the Pokemon Card Classic, where today I am talking about why I think demand is the most important factor when it comes to Pokemon price increases and price decreases. There's a lot of factors we have to take into consideration when making a decision to make an investment within the Pokemon space, whether that's going to be a short-term investment, a flip, or a long-term investment for 5+ years. These are things like the rarity, the condition of the card, how old the card is, how scarce the card is. But above all else, in my opinion, demand, which ties directly to the popularity of the Pokemon or of the specific cards, is what affects the price the most. And this is evident from what we've seen with Charizard cards, PSA limited cards, and how strongly they have performed against more traditional rare or scarce or harder to find or low population cards in the hobby. But that's something that you want to find out more about, then stay tuned to this video. And if you want to find out the most important criteria to help you make your next Pokemon investment, then mega punch that thumbs up button. Seriously, I put a ton of time into this YouTube channel, and the growth is just not kind of meeting up or matching up to the amount of time I'm putting in. So by you guys simply watching these videos, leaving a comment down below, and most importantly, hitting that thumbs up button, it is a huge help, as it helps YouTube push this video in front of other like-minded people, like-minded collectors, so more people will see the video. The more views I get, the more worthwhile it is for me to keep creating these videos, which then gives you more videos to then mega punch that thumbs up button on, and the cycle repeats. So let's get straight into today's analysis.
Are you ready for shredding?
So, coming down to the population report first of all. You can see here the rate at which these cards have been graded, how many there was, and you can see pretty much from 2017 we've had a very kind of gradual incline on this chart, but especially from around, what I want to say, 2019 to 2020 in particular, there's a big spike here at the end of 2020 when a lot of cards must have been coming back. There's a ton of these out there on the market. You can see 4,000 plus all the way through until we broke the 5,000 mark just in December of 2020, obviously with PSA getting some of those cards back from their backlog. So you would think with more cards hitting the market, so you'd think with so many of these, even if you're looking around 2019, early 2019, you had well over 4,000 and it's just climbed ever since. You'd think, right, there's a ton of those cards on the market, they're not really going to jump in price. However, let's jump over to the PSA 9 prices of the same cards, and we're going to look back from, if you look here, 2019 was an anomaly in the price there, but if you look back at a couple of sales, you were picking up PSA 9 Charizards for $300, $250, probably around $250 I would say would be an average price back then. And as time went on, you can see things were creeping up a little bit in early 2020. But as that year went on and on, the prices climbed higher and higher for that card until we hit around May time, which is when, I think it was like March, April, is when the lockdown hit a lot of the world and people obviously started going back to Pokemon. And you can see the rate at which these cards were going up in price was absolutely crazy. We're looking here in summer of last year, 880, 820, 740, 870, kind of all over the place. I'm guessing they were finishing from auctions, but anywhere between what, $750-ish up to $900 is what you were looking for these cards. But the demand for these cards kept increasing because more and more people were looking at Pokemon, more and more people were getting into the hobby for collecting, for investing, and because it's a Charizard. So what happens? The price of these cards went up, even though the population report of these cards was going up alongside it. Remember, we can see that from this chart here. And there's so many of these cards out there already. It's not a rare card at all. You can see 5,436. The price was still climbing. Even in September there, you can see, when was the first one that broke $1,000? You're looking at, was it August time? Maybe it's a little bit earlier. The first one that broke $1,000 for the PSA 9, maybe around July, August time. There's so many of these cards out there. You would think, oh, well, there's so many, they're rare, they're not scarce, you know, the price isn't going to go up. But this proves, this shows, this is the data here, that the price was going up because the demand and the popularity of a base set Charizard was so immense, people just wanted it. So that kind of made the PSA population reports absolutely irrelevant in terms of factoring in the price. And you can see here, all the way through October, these things were going for crazy money, over $4,000, over $5,000. Now, these did start to take a downturn as the entire Pokemon market did, or at least the base set was hit pretty hard. Around the end of October, November, you can see the prices of these were coming down considerably from what they were literally just a month prior. We had the Logan Paul box break, which created, you know, a huge amount of buzz. And then if we look at the price now, because it's May when I'm recording this, Pokemon has definitely cooled off a lot in the past couple of months. The world is opening back up. People are now, you know, looking to spend money, whether it's on holidays or just going back out having a drink and going out shopping again, hitting the high street, whatever it might be. People leaving the house, they're not spending as much time at home, they're not spending as much money on hobbies like Pokemon, and you can see here the prices have started to, well, they have dropped, they haven't started, they actually have dropped quite a bit. But that's because the demand isn't there. It's not because you've had a ton of cards, you know, just all suddenly hits at once. That is a factor in it because there's more available. But because the demand for Pokemon is just not as hot now as what it was 6 months ago. And you can see that reflected in the prices. But the point I'm making here is these cards, this time frame here, the cards were selling for crazy prices because of the demand at the time. And that is what forced the prices up. So you can compare this with just, I've picked a random base set card, Raichu, popular Pokemon, one of my favourites from Gen 1, the evolution of Pikachu. The PSA 9 of Raichu has far less, like 4 times, probably 5 times less, well, yeah, there's way less compared to the Charizard cards. And if you look at the prices of these, I mean, they're literally going for $200, $250, I'll be generous and say 300, but you're probably looking on average about $250 for one of these. And it's just because, so you would think, looking at the PSA population reports, that, oh, well, the Raichu has less PSA population, there's less 9s out there, so it's going to be a more expensive card or a rarer card. Yes, technically it's a more rare card because there is less of them out there, but because there's not as much demand for Raichu cards, the price is, what, like a 10th maybe? An 8th or something of what the PSA 9 Charizards are. And that's because the demand for a Raichu isn't there because it's not as popular of a Pokemon. So I see all the time on Instagram, people will be posting low population cards, so they try and inflate the price on that. But just because a card has a low PSA pop report doesn't mean it's desirable, because it probably has a low population report because nobody cares about grading that card because not too many people want it. I think this Charizard card is probably, I could be wrong, but it could be the highest graded card in the hobby. I'd be surprised if there was anything that had more graded copies than this Charizard, and yet this was the one card that climbed the most out of all the base set unlimited cards. It had the biggest, you know, return on investment, had the biggest percentage growth, it had the biggest actual cash growth of any of the cards from the base set unlimited set last year. And that is not because it's a rare card, not because it's a scarce card. It is the most common card, probably, of all of the graded cards. And yet it is the most expensive because it is the card that is the most popular and therefore in most demand. And it's not just PSA graded cards or graded cards in general that we're seeing this demand and this crazy price increase going on that kind of doesn't add up to the amount of supply that's out there. The most recent example of this has got to be the Evolutions booster box. XY Evolutions has absolutely flooded the market since 2016. I believe it's the most printed Pokemon card set ever. And if you look at any booster boxes or any cards from that era, from that year, and you compare the prices back then to now, then Evolutions is the one that is worth the most money and is the one that will have got you the best return on your investment. But there's so much supply out there. So why is this? Guys, it comes down to demand. People sometimes criticise the Pokemon company for being lazy or relying on Kanto and relying on Gen 1 too much, but you've got to remember, when Pokemon was at its absolute peak, that was Gen 1 and Kanto. You've got all these 90s kids just like me who are now adults, who've got their own disposable income, who want that nostalgia hit, so they want to go back to things that they're familiar with. Take a look at Shining Fates. I did not enjoy that set at all, whereas I absolutely loved Hidden Fates. Now the reason for this is because Hidden Fates played to nostalgia, there was something for everyone. Shining Fates didn't have that nostalgia, and it was very, aimed more towards the modern collector and the modern Pokemon fan. There's nothing wrong with that, but without that nostalgia, the demand just isn't going to be as high. So for all those 90 kids, just like me, who couldn't open and never did have the chance to open an entire booster box of Pokemon cards when they were a kid, what do they want to do now? Pokemon's popular, they've got that itch, they want to just, they want to scratch that itch, they want that 50cc of nostalgia directly into their ass. They don't want to go and spend 20 grand plus on a base set booster box. They want to go and get the Evolutions, the XY Evolutions booster box for a fraction of the price. Now, because there's so many people wanting to open this box at the minute, that is why the price has jacked up. There's still tons of these packs available in collector's sets and collection boxes and things like that. So Evolutions packs, while they're not as available now as they were a couple of years ago, they're still not too hard to get hold of at retail in the right collection boxes. Booster boxes have been out of print for a while, but the amount of supply that is still out there, the crazy moon price we've seen of this, and I'd say the past 8 months or so, has been absolutely insane. And that's not because, the supply is completely gone, because there's still a ton out there. Yes, as people open more boxes, the supply does dwindle a little bit, but guys, I cannot stress enough how much Evolutions product is out there. And the reason we've seen this crazy price increase is purely because the demand is there. Give it another 6 months. If Pokemon keeps going the way it is, whether you like to admit it or not, guys, Pokemon is cooling down right now. It is nowhere near as hot as what it was this time last year, this time 6 months ago or 8 months ago. And that's just the way it is. Things may pick up towards the end of the year, but let's be honest, this 25th anniversary year, this 25th celebration, so far has been a huge disappointment. If we see the demand and the buzz of Pokemon kind of dwindle off a little bit now that lockdowns are lifted and people are out spending the money on other things, the demand for Evolutions is going to slowly dwindle, and we're going to see, guarantee, that price of Evolutions start to dip a little bit. Will it be dramatic? Honestly, no one knows. However, I can guarantee you that if the demand isn't there, the prices will drop. And that is why we are seeing prices of some of these older cards, like the things I've already mentioned, dropping in price. Now we're going to move on to some Team Rocket cards and take a look at a super popular card versus a super rare card and see how the prices compare. So here we have the Dark Charizard First Edition Holo card, and we are going to be comparing this to the rarest PSA cards in the Team Rocket set, which is the Dark Magneton. Now, Charizard is a much more popular Pokemon than what Magneton is. Charizard is always one of the chase cards in, whatever set it might be. But the Dark Magneton goes for crazy prices in PSA 10 because there's so few of them that are actually being graded in PSA 10. You can see there's only 50 of these cards that have got a PSA 10. Compare it to the Dark Charizard, which has got almost 10 times. You got 9 times the amount there, 9 to 10, about 9.5 times as many odds as the Dark Magneton. There's 455. So obviously you would think, oh well, the card is rarer, the Dark Magneton is a much more rare card, it's going to go for a lot more money. And at some point that has been true. If we come down to the price chart, if we look at Dark Magneton, you can see there's a couple of sales. So if you look back to January of 2020, a PSA 10 Dark Magneton sold for $5,000. One sold in April for $4,500, and then another one sold for just over $4,000 in, I think that was June time. So if you look at that kind of time frame, compared to the Charizard, okay, so yeah, you can see that the PSA 10 Magneton was selling for a lot more money than the Dark Charizard, because yeah, it's a much more rare card, a much more scarce card. There's only 50 in the population report. But then what happened when Pokemon started getting hotter and hotter last year? Around, say, May onwards last year. Well, let's take a look at the prices as we zoom in to the chart a little bit more. We can see in May time, the Dark Charizard jumped up from $1,500 all the way to almost double at just short of $3,000. We had a couple sell there for around that, $2,900 mark. Price came down a little bit and then it jumped back up again to almost, well, just over 4,000. Might have been a shill bid because if you look at these cards here, they're more kind of in line with each other. But you can kind of confidently say that at this time, the price of that Charizard jumped up a lot. So if we go back to the Dark Magneton, and there's a lot less of these sold because there is obviously less of them out there. The highest reported sale on eBay, public sale, was $6,575 for this card, compared to the Dark Charizard that has had multiple sales for over $10,000. So it's not just like one was sold as a shill bid. This card has sold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times for over $10,000, a sixth time there at $10,000, and then a couple at around the $8,000 mark. And it has started coming down in price, just like a lot of the market has, because of Pokemon not being as hot. The prices have started coming down a little bit, and you can actually see there it's kind of halved in price now to what it was back in October time last year. We're now looking at half of the price. But again, the point I'm making here is this card is much more available. There's way more copies of this card in PSA 10 compared to the PSA 9 card, but the price of this card has far surpassed the price of this card, and that is because the demand for popular Pokemon, the demand for popular cards, is what has driven the price up and up and up to the point where it hits that $10,000 mark. So that is why the demand of a card and the demand and the popularity and the demand in a lot of the case is driven by the popularity of a particular Pokemon. Obviously the Charizard is probably the mascot of the trading card game. Anytime there's a Charizard card in a set, people go crazy for it. It's usually the most expensive card in the set, and it's usually the chase card of the set, with a couple of exceptions. I think Vivid Voltage being the most recent one. But you can see that because the demand and the popularity is there, that is what drives the price more so than the scarcity and the rarity of a card. Now, there is an asterisk I've got to put there, because with so few of these cards being out there, you don't get sales as much, because it's likely that, the 50 people who have these are hardcore collectors who want it in their own collection. So it is harder to compare exactly kind of like for like, but because there's only 50 cards out there, that could be because back in the day, Magneton cards, Magneton as a Pokemon, not too popular. People didn't care about getting them graded, or people didn't care about, keeping them in as good condition. So there's not as many of the cards that have made it through to get high quality, good grades with PSA. Because it's not even a case of a ton of Magneton cards have been sent in, because you can see the population reports on all the other. It's not like we've got thousands and thousands at PSA 9, so there's, it's really difficult to get PSA 10. We don't even have that many of this card graded at all, compared to this card where we have way more total copies of the card graded. And again, it just comes down to Magneton's probably not a high in demand popular Pokemon, so not as many people cared about it. Again, that's one of the factors and one of the reasons that probably makes it more of a rare card, because people don't really care to get it graded, or people didn't care to get it graded, people didn't look after it as well as what they did say to Charizard, so there's less copies 20 years after the release of this set that can make it through to get those good grades. So Shredders, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Now there's a couple of things to remember. While demand and popularity of a Pokemon and popularity of a card is, in my opinion, the most important factor, which is what we've demonstrated in this video, do bear in mind that there are other factors that are worthwhile considering, and if what we've seen over this past year in Pokemon is an anomaly, then those other factors will be more important in the future. However, we've seen time and time again that Charizard card is always super popular. So who's to say with, you know, the 30th anniversary, the 40th anniversary, the 50th anniversary of Pokemon, that people just don't go crazy for, you know, the tried, the true, the tested classics of the Charizard, the Blastoise, the Venusaur from base set, regardless of how many are out there. If there's enough people wanting them, if the demand is so high, that's just going to bump that price up. And as the demand increases, the importance of mega punching that thumbs up button also increases as well. Seriously guys, just literally taking 2 seconds to mega punch that thumbs up button massively will help this channel out. It lets me know you've enjoyed the video. It makes me more motivated to keep pumping out more content for you guys to watch, and hopefully you guys will be able to help grow your collection, make a little bit of money with Pokemon cards from the videos I'm putting out. It's a win-win and it's free. That is it for today's video though guys, so if you have enjoyed it, please do subscribe to the channel and let me know down below what you are currently investing in for long-term holds. Until next time, remember that collecting ain't no gimmick, it's a lifestyle.